Hello, television family. We have gathered again for another exciting edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Gesundheit to my producer, Uriah, who just sneezed into my earpiece. It is the 24th day of August. It's the year 2022, and it's Wednesday. The unmistakable and Grammy Award-winning theme to Winning Wednesday. Here we go again. Time to give stuff away, and I love giving stuff away. And this week, our good friends at the Highlander have stepped up to the plate. I have a gift certificate and a gift card. It is 2 rounds of golf, so you and a friend and a date or an enemy, I don't care, get to play golf. You and one other person, 2 rounds of golf, and a $25 gift card to the Highlander Grill. So, round of golf for 2, $25 worth of free food. It's an estimated retail value of $1,195. Oh, I forgot the decimal. $195. Still a pretty good deal. You and a friend golfing for free at the Highlander, and $25 towards whatever you want to partake in afterwards at the Highlander Grill. Send me your email. That's how you do it. You got to email me. That's the only way to enter the contest. Winner at ncwlife.com. Winner at ncwlife.com. It's right there at the bottom of your screen. There. Winner at ncwlife.com. Don't forget about the rules. There are some things you got to remember. What are they? Oh, employees of local telecommunications solely on broadcasting and their immediate families are not eligible to win the contest. Just so it's all on the up and up. All right. I don't think there's any age limit. I think you can be under 21 to win it. And, of course, the number one rule of all of these contests that we do on every Wednesday, if you don't enter the contest, you can't win the contest. So if you don't enter, you're automatically ineligible. Again, a round of golf for 2 people at the Highlander and a $25 gift card to the Highlander Grill. And we'll do the drawing a little bit later on today. Winner at ncwlife.com. Oh, 1 entry per email address. Almost forgot that. 1 entry per email address. If you have more than 1 email address, you can enter more than once. That's cool. But you can't enter over and 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 over again on the same email address. We will keep track of those things. There we go. Now we got that out of the way. Still smoky, still hazy. We're doing this again. Same weather, really, for the last 3 or 4 days. We're at 66 degrees here in downtown Wenatchee. Today is the one day where we could see a thunderstorm here in the valley. Much greater chance to the north of us and a much greater chance to the east of us. The Idaho Panhandle and the Spokane area could get some afternoon thunderstorms. The atmosphere is a little unstable, and the system that's causing the possibility of a thunderstorm is very high up in the atmosphere. It's like way up there. So we're keeping a close eye on that, but a raindrop or a thunderstorm is not out of the question. Details are coming up. In news, the Grant County Sheriff's Office are backing off their previous statement about what may have been the intentions of the man that they arrested on Friday night at the Gorge in George. They're kind of going, well, maybe not. We'll talk about that when we get to news. The Mariners, nice victory over the Nationals. They got them again today, this afternoon, the matinee game. We'll talk about that. And the Seahawks quarterback battle continues. And speaking of baseball, we wrap up the Wenatchee Apple Sox campaign with our good friends Storm and Joel Norman. We went to Paul Thomas Senior Stadium couple of days ago and chatted with Joel. It was a good year for the Apple Sox. They were one of the last 4 teams standing. Of course, they lost in the North Division Championship game to Bellingham, but still it was a good year for Mitch and the crew. And we'll talk to Joel Norman and wrap up the Wenatchee Apple Sox season in the back half of the program. Here we go. It's our tour. By the way, I have an update on our Wenatchee Cross camera or Wenatchee Heights camera. We ordered a brand new one, and it's on its way. In the meantime, we don't have it. So there is, once again, Jump Off Ridge. Once again, with the humidity at its highest. Relative humidity right now is 60%. That's pretty wet, and that's why we still have that smoke and that haze that settles down from the fires that are just kind of sitting there and burning up in the Lake Wenatchee area. It's not really, it's just kind of laying there burning. They're keeping an eye on it. They're, got the perimeters around it, or doing their best anyway, but not a lot of happening up there, but the smoke and the haze are still hanging around. Although the air quality isn't too bad. That's from our Jump Off Ridge camera 2. I wonder why they call it Jump Off Ridge, by the way. I don't know anybody's ever jumped off it, and if you do, you're not going to live. That was a bird flying by the Cascadian camera facing to the south. We have 2 cameras On the roof of the Cascadian, the tallest building downtown, one faces north, one faces south. That's the south-facing camera. There you go. So, traffic on the Senator George Settle Bridge looks mighty fine to me, but you can still see the haze, how close it is here to the valley floor. Camera 3, again, I don't know. Uriah throws it up and I get to guess. That's obviously the Rock Island camera. Get that fly. Get it. Hey, I got it. Oh, I didn't. Good morning to our friends in Rock Island. You can see Malaga in the distance. Get that fly. Get it. The few high, you can see how high the clouds are. I talked about how high up this weather system really is in the atmosphere. Get that fly. Get it. There we go. I missed it again. Camera 4. Lake Chelan, how you doing? The McNeil Canyon camera way up on top of McNeil Canyon. So that's the very peak of the canyon. And then we have a tower, a very tall tower. On top of that, we have a camera that is so tall you can actually peek over the ridge and see Lake Chelan. Good morning to Lake Chelan on this beautiful August day. So thunderstorm chances, let's talk about it. There we go. Again, the dark green means a better chance of active weather here in the Wenatchee Valley. Yeah, we're just right on the very cusp of that, right on the very edge. But during the hottest part of the day, say 4, 5, 6 o'clock, all the way up to sunset, which is right around 8 o'clock now, is our best chance to get a thunderstorm. But we're only pegging that at about a 20% chance of a thunderstorm. It's the folks in far eastern Washington and the Idaho Panhandle that have the best chance of having a thunderstorm visit them. There's a big ridge of high pressure just off the coast that's going to just eat up the low pressure system that's causing the unstable weather. So we are going to be quite warm. We'll be mid-90s, lower 90s anyway, mid-90s perhaps, certainly by Thursday. We're going to be warm for the next couple of days. We have a nice cool down over the weekend. In fact, from the National Weather Service, after a high of 92 yesterday, and 92 on Monday, and 94 over the weekend. We'll do it again, about 93, with quite a bit of sunshine. Not as many clouds this morning as we've had yesterday. Just the haze. 93, 68 for the overnight low tonight. We'll do it again tomorrow. About 93, 68 for the overnight low. We just hit repeat. Just do it again and again. We do it again Friday. About 93, lots of sunshine. 63 for the overnight low. Nice cooler. Might be able to open up the windows on Friday night. Nice cool down. Very pleasant on Saturday and Sunday. I'm liking this. It's the last weekend in August, of course, Saturday and Sunday. We're going to cool down rather nicely. We like that. So not as hot as it's been the last few days. By the time we get to Saturday and Sunday, little bit of a warm-up again on Monday and Tuesday. All in all, outside of the chance of a thunderstorm, the weather is pretty quiet. Thank you, Mother Nature. Don't like the drama. 8 minutes after the hour, a 1-minute break, and then your headlines on this Wednesday morning. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Live channel.
With all the variety on SureStream TV from Localtel, there's always something to watch. But what if you hit the couch in the middle of all the shows? That's a perfect time to use the features Catch Up or Restart. Catch up on shows from up to 3 days ago, or restart your show from the beginning. Go to your guide and select the show to restart. Then play, pause, rewind on your schedule. Don't forget, SureStream TV from Localtel lets you decide when shows begin.
This could be the view out of your office window.
North Central Washington is probably one of the most beautiful places to live, and you get to experience it all as a transit operator.
Link Transit coach operators enjoy full family benefits, paid CDL training, a state-of-the-art fleet, and the satisfaction of being part of a progressive, community-minded team.
We have a lot of fun with each other. I mean, it's a good group of people. We're all kind of like a family.
If you like this view, Link has a seat for you. The next operator training starts soon. Apply today at linktransit.com.
As you can see, some smoke, some haze, 66 degrees, right back up into the 90s. We go again today with a slight chance of a late afternoon thunderstorm for the Wenatchee Valley. Better chance to the north of us and to the east of us, but we're not out of the woods there, and then we're just going to be sunny and hot with a little cool down over the weekend. Almost 10 minutes after the hour, Grant County Sheriff's deputies have now withdrawn their initial suggestion that a man arrested Friday at the Gorge Amphitheater may have intended to commit a mass shooting. Jonathan R. Moody was charged Monday in Grant County District Court with 2 gross misdemeanors, possession of a dangerous weapon and unlawful carrying or handling of a weapon. Witnesses allegedly told police that on opening night of the Base Canyon Festival, Moody inhaled an unknown substance from a balloon in the parking lot of the Gorge, armed himself with 2 loaded handguns, and began asking people what time the concert ended, and where people would be exiting. Moody was arrested after security staff confronted him. He was held in the Grant County Jail until Monday. He posted a $10,000 bail on Monday. When they announced the arrest on Saturday, sheriff's officials initially said in a social media post that Moody, quote, may have had plans to commit a mass shooting, end quote. They said Moody did not make any statements to deputies at the time of his arrest. Well, in a Facebook post yesterday, the sheriff's office said, and again I'm quoting, while the investigation is not finished, what we can say is that we now don't feel that his intent was to cause a mass shooting, end quote. They said detectives have interviewed Moody and they have served several search warrants on 2 vehicles. The driver in a police chase that started in Wenatchee and ended up over Blewett Pass before he was arrested in Kittitas County by the Washington State Patrol. That driver is going to serve about 6 months in jail. This all happened a couple of years ago, you might remember. 29-year-old Miles Barry Davis pled guilty Monday to counts of second-degree theft and vehicle prowling. The Seattle man is free on bond. He has to report to jail in Chelan County by September 12th. In his plea, Barry admitted stealing items from parked cars in Wenatchee in December of 2020. When police responded, he fled in a rented Dodge minivan and was finally stopped by state troopers in Kittitas County. Barry still faces charges in Douglas County of fleeing police and hit and run. A passenger in his minivan, by the way, pled guilty last year to possession of stolen property. A significant accounting error, well, for the Wenatchee School District means they may have to cut staffing and expenses even deeper than they had originally planned. Interim Superintendent Bill Eagle says district staff discovered the error back in June, which took $9 million in COVID-related CARES Act funding that was due to expire and carried it forward to this school year. Eagle said the impact of the error means decisions about staffing were made without a full financial picture.
Our decreasing enrollment trends have indicated a need to decrease staffing. You can see, again, an adjustment in staffing was made between 18-19 and 19-20. However, the influx of CARES dollars in the past few years have helped with things like technology and materials needed for COVID protocols, but it also provided an opportunity to add staffing during COVID. And while this has helped keep class sizes smaller and provided additional support for things like behavior and learning recovery efforts, ultimately the federal COVID funds are not sustainable dollars and will mostly be spent out in the 22-23 year. Additional staff were added in the past 3 years with some of those dollars to keep class sizes smaller and provide needed supports for behavior and learning recovery efforts. It is also my understanding that after staffing decisions were made for the upcoming school year, 22-23, during the budget review process in June, a tracking error related to a budgeted CARES revenue source was discovered. This was discovered in between the June 14th budget presentation and the June 28th budget presentation provided to the board, which means the error was discovered about a week before my official start as the interim superintendent. The tracking error was in a budgeted amount. It was a budgeted revenue source from the 21-22 school year that was carried forward into the 22-23 budget and should not have been. This error was in budgeted amounts and not actual amounts, but it gave the appearance that the budget was in a much stronger position than it actually was at the time staffing decisions for the 22-23 school year were being made last spring. Prior to my stepping into this role, the fiscal department put in place some internal controls to ensure that type of budgeted tracking error does not happen again, and I'm confident that it will not.
Confluence Health is renaming its facilities. No more Central Washington Hospital. Instead, starting next summer, it'll be Confluence Health Hospital Central Campus. Changes also come into the Wenatchee Valley Clinic. on 9th Street. That site will be known as Confluence Health Hospital Mayers Campus after the founding physician of the clinic, Dr. L.M. Mayers. Confluence executives say the name change reflects the fact that the health system is one hospital with 2 locations. Confluence sites in Omak and Moses Lake will also be renamed as campuses. Dr. Andrew Jones, who recently took over as CEO for Confluence Health, says, quote, "We believe our new names will be easier for our patients to understand and show that both hospital locations are part of a unified system." Finally, Chelan County stands to gain about $1.3 million over the next 17 years to combat opioid abuse. County commissioners on Monday signed an agreement on how to use a $430 million settlement between opioid distributors and the state of Washington. AmerisourceBergen, Cardinal Health, and McKesson will pay the state to settle claims that their drug marketing contributed to mass addiction. Cities and counties are in line for a total of about $215 million from that agreement. Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Susan Hinkle says Chelan County should get about $80,000 a year starting next year, primarily to be used for local addiction treatment programs. Douglas, Grant, Okanagan counties and the cities within those counties are in line for their own piece of that pie. That's what's making news at 16 minutes after the hour. We'll be doing it again at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock, the evening news with Grant Olson. Don't forget, if you don't want to watch it on TV or if that 5, 6, or 10 o'clock hours don't fit into your schedule, you can also watch our news by visiting our website or our Facebook page. And with a preview of some of the stories we're working on, here's the anchor, Grant Olson.
Good morning, Dan. Coming up tonight on the NCW Life Evening News, Quincy will celebrate the opening of its new pump track tomorrow. We'll tell you more about that. Thunderstorms and warm temperatures over the next couple of days before we see a cool down this weekend. I'll have all the details in your complete North Central Washington weather forecast. And in sports, Eric Granstrom will have the latest on the Mariners Nationals series, as well as a look at the Seahawks as they prepare for the Cowboys on Friday night. That and all the day's news stories coming your way tonight at 5, 6, and 10 on the NCW Life Evening News. We hope to see you then. Dan?
Thanks, Grant. I always watch the news, even though I help put it together. Wonder why I do that. Anyway, if you have a news tip, and we've got some pretty cool stories, very important stories from our viewers. We'd love to hear from you. Our Facebook page, our email address, and our website. It's all down there at the bottom of your screen. You know how to get a hold of us. After a quick break, we'll talk sports. Nice victory for the Mariners last night. Robbie Ray looked really good. Also, we'll check in with the Seahawks camp at the VMAC in Renton, getting ready for Friday night's game against Dallas. So sports is 1 minute away. You're watching Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
When the people you serve are your friends and family, you see the world a bit differently. You understand that your survival depends on the health and strength of your relationships. Your word is your reputation, and that doing the right thing is the only way of life that matters. At Confluence Health, we remain humble. Trust is a gift that is earned, a privilege, an honor. And we remain grateful for the trust you place in our hands.
Wenatchee Wild are coming back to town, and we're looking for billet families to provide rooms for our players. Development team's head coach Troy Mick.
A billet family provides a home and a family setting as the players work towards their goals of furthering their careers and education.
Wild head coach Chris Clark.
The strength of our program really begins with the billet families. As our program continues to grow, we are looking for more quality families for our players. If you have an extra bedroom, please call us. Let's talk about it. This is an opportunity that you will treasure for a lifetime.
For details, call 888-7825.
19 minutes after the hour, Robbie Ray flirted with a no-hitter. Didn't get it, but, still kind of fun to watch. Mariners dispatched the Nationals last night, 4-2. Ray took the no-no into the 7th inning. He was leading 2-0 on Mitch Haniger's 2-run home run. He lost the no-hit bid to Joni Meneses on a home run to center field, but Seattle got some late insurance from our good buddy Gino Suarez. Highlights.
Haniger throttles this out to left field, and the Mariners are on the board. Go ahead, 2-run home run, Mitch Haniger.
Well, it's a two-seam fastball. You'll see it sink down and in to Mitch Haniger, and he just drops the head straight down on it. right in Mitch's happy zone, and he drives this ball deep to left field into the bullpen, and it gives that Mariners that 2-0 lead.
Very smooth. Very smooth. Oh, Meneses to center. Rodriguez back. See you later. That's how you bust up a no-hitter and a shutout. And the Nats are back to within one as Joey homers for the 6th time in 18 games.
All the way to the moon! Second deck coming down! Watch out below! You have found your insurance! It's paid up by Eugenio Suarez! It's a 4-1 Mariners lead.
Well, look at that exit velocity, 108 on that two-seam fastball. And he gets every single part of it right in the middle of the plate, 89, about belt high. And he knew right away this ball goes a long way.
Outer part of the plate. Nice. There's a base hit. Lane Thomas softly through the right side. That'll be a line drive in the box score, and the Nets within 2.
Win it. 4 to the final. They take game 1 against the Nationals.
Well, Robbie Ray had it all going tonight. 6 very strong innings, pitches into the 7th. He just looked very, very dominant tonight, staying ahead of these Washington hitters. And the Mariners come up with a couple of big blasts. Mitch Haniger with a 2-run homer, and then Eugenio Suarez with a 2-run homer.
Manager Scott Service said it was pretty good that Ray was pretty dominant because outside of the 2 home runs, the Mariner bats last night pretty quiet.
A really well pitched ball game by Robbie Ray. I think you have to start there, and that was the key to tonight's game. No question about it. He went out and had really good stuff, went right after him, was in total control of the ball game until he gave up the home run there leading off the 7th inning, and that was couldn't quite get through it. I was hoping to get through the 7th, but awesome job by Robbie tonight. It's exactly what you need when you come off a long road trip. You want your starter to go out there, take you deep in the game, and really shut the opponent down, and he did that tonight. Offensively, it was a little struggle. We hit 2 balls over the fence, and that's a good thing. We had some guys on base, and we did it. Haniger continues to roll since he's been back, and Gino's in one of those streaks. The ball just jumps off his bat, and when he gets his pitch, he's not missing it right now. So, again, bullpen was outstanding. I think that's the first hit Paul Sewald's given up in like 10 or 11 innings, something like that. So, guys have been really solid down there. Again, it's what's going to take here down the stretch, consistent pitching and timely hitting, and just enough hitting tonight to get a W. So hopefully we can bring it to the yard tomorrow, hopefully do a little bit more offensively and take a little pressure off our pitching. But the guys on the mound have been great for us.
Mariners and Nationals wrap up their quick 2-game series. It's a Wednesday getaway, 1:10. A matinee, George Kirby and Annabelle Sanchez. You can watch the game on Root Sports Northwest or not. It's a free country. In other American League West action, Tampa Bay catcher Christian Bethancourt homered, drove in 3 runs. The Rays win 11-1 over the Angels. And then he moved from behind the plate to the mound. He pitched the 9th inning and pitched pretty good. He hit 95 miles an hour on his fastball. Not bad for a catcher. Alex Bregman was 2 for 4 with a 2-run home run to lead Houston over Minnesota 4-2. Justin Verlander had a no-hitter going in with 10 strikeouts. He left after 6 innings. The veteran is coming off Tommy John surgery. Says, hey, we're looking at the long run, the postseason, making a deep run to the playoffs rather than personal milestones. So he took himself out with a no-hitter. Oakland's comeback bid against Miami fell short in the 9th inning. They scored 3 runs. The Marlins held on for the 5-3 victory. The standings. Tampa Bay's win over L.A. gives the Rays a half-game margin over Toronto and Seattle. In the American League wildcard chase, the Blue Jays kept pace. They beat Boston 9-3. Baltimore remains 2.5 back with a 5-3 win over Chicago. Chicago's not playing very well now. They're now 5 games back, and Minnesota is dropping 4 games back because they lost, of course, to Houston. The quarterback question remains a constant at the Seahawks training camp. Geno Smith or Drew Lock? Seahawk reporter Greg Bell asked Pete Carroll a question yesterday that a lot of Seahawk fans are also asking.
Is it possible that the guy who starts the opener is not your starting quarterback for the bulk of the season?
I don't know that. Really, think about it. That's a good question. It's a good question because you're trying to figure it out, but I don't know that. I'm going to wait and see what happens, And I got today's a really big day for me, find out what they look like today. The guy's coming back from COVID. He made it back yesterday, 2 days ago, did fine. Made it through everything, all the walkthrough stuff yesterday, did fine. Let's see how he goes today, and we'll see where it fits. But I'm not closing, I'm not closing the book on anybody competing for their spots. We have 2 enormous weeks coming up, and the finish of this one next week is a huge week for us, and then we come back with another full week and an extra day. So we got a lot of time here to work it out on my schedule. Maybe you're not feeling that schedule, but my schedule, I'm okay.
Drew Lock coming down with COVID certainly didn't help. They can't evaluate the player if he's not actually playing. Coach Pete Carroll says Drew Lock is going to see a lot of practice time and a lot of game time come Friday night.
Yeah, we got it worked out. We're figuring out play time right now, and Drew needs to play a lot of football, because he missed a game. So that's the main thing that I get done on this weekend.
Does he play with the starters maybe more than the last week?
You have to wait and see.
Physically, do you feel like he's back to normal?
I'd like to see again today. He made it through yesterday. Did not show a sign of it, but he did a nice job getting through it. So I'd like to see him make sure that he's back and bounced. He did fine yesterday. He didn't let anybody know, but he was working to get through it. So we'll see how much better he is today. But he's going to get all the work that we can give him, and we're not holding anything back.
Carroll maintains that Geno Smith is the leader right now for the starting quarterback position, but Drew Lock has shown good progress when he's had a chance to play.
Geno's been the guy in the lead position the whole time, and I've protected that thought with throughout, and he's done a really nice job. He's been very consistent. So we'll just see what happens, and there's 2 more weeks of practice too after this. So where the timeline, I had a set thought on what we would do with the timeline, but that got disrupted, and so we're going to use all the time we need. Geno's done a really good job of being in that position. His voice is solid. He's on point all the time. He's been very consistent with his work, all of that. And Drew has been really sharp. So it's. I know it's not supposed to be a good situation when you have 2 quarterbacks. It means you don't have one, as the old saying. But I don't know. We might have 2 ones. We'll see what happens.
Seahawks and the Cowboys Friday night at Jerry World. It'll be broadcast on King 5. Again on Friday night. And those are just some of the games that people are playing on this Wednesday. Let's celebrate National Waffle Day today. Doesn't that look good? You got to love waffles because the butter and the syrup stays in the little squares and all over the plate. We celebrate National Waffle Day on August 24th because it was on August 24th, 1869 that the waffle iron was patented. You cooked over a fire back then. That was Cornelius Swarthart. Patented the waffle iron. Waffles go all the way back to like the 17th century in Europe. Royalty ate waffles. The peasants couldn't because you need sugar to make waffles, and sugar was very expensive in the 17th century. In the 18th century, when the mass production of sugar began and the sugar prices began to drop and it was available for almost everybody, then waffles became quite popular, but you had to cook over a fire with a specific iron. It was kind of labor intensive, and waffles, by the early part of the 20th century, were in trouble. People quit eating them. And then God bless General Electric, who in 1912 patented and then began to sell the electric waffle iron as we know it today. It's one of those foods that you have to have that special piece of equipment to make it correct. Fun facts about waffles. Thomas Jefferson brought a waffle iron back to the U.S. from France when he was hanging around there. Waffles were used to make ice cream cones when the ice cream cone was invented during the St. Louis World's Fair in 1904. They took the waffle and they made it into a cone, put the ice cream in there. Smart move there. In 1953, Eggo, the Eggo waffles were introduced. So the frozen waffles that we see everywhere in the stores, those go back to 1953. And the soles of the very first pair of Nike sneakers ever made was made with rubber in a waffle iron. Dig in, folks. Waffles. They're good for you. Well, not really. Eat them anyway. Let's move forward to today in history. During the War of 1812, there was a battle in Canada between the British and the Americans. The Americans were led by a general by the name of William Henry Winder. William Henry Winder was the commanding officer of the Americans. They outnumbered the British before this big battle 4-1. They had 4-1 in soldiers and supplies and shot and shell. And then they had General Winder, who was an idiot, and they actually lost the battle. Winder himself got captured. The British had this American general, and they said, this guy is such an incompetent boob. Why don't we turn him back over to the Americans? We're better off giving him back to the Americans. So they did. And what did the Americans do? They put General Winder in charge of defending Washington, D.C., and as soon as the British found out about that, they attacked Washington, D.C. On this date in 1814. The burning of Washington, they burned the White House, the Treasury Building, the Capitol over a couple of days. It's the only time ever that a foreign country actually occupied our nation's capital. But luckily, a windstorm, a rainstorm, it might have even been a hurricane. Records are sketchy. This is 208 years ago. Put out all the fires. They eventually rebuilt the Capitol. There is no statue of William Henry Winder to be found anywhere. They burned Washington on this date. Took 2 days to do it. 208 years ago today. 68 years ago today, the Communist Control Act becomes law when President Eisenhower signs it into law, outline the American Communist Party. If you're a member of the American Communist Party, you could be arrested and tried and thrown in prison. The United States Supreme Court has never acted on the constitutionality of this law. It is unconstitutional on its face. I belong to this political party, so therefore we can arrest you. It doesn't work that way. The reason they've never ruled on the constitutionality because it's never been enforced. Even though the law has been on the books for 68 years, it's still on the books. It's never been repealed. It's also never been enforced. Nobody's ever been arrested for just being a communist in the United States. And it was the Red Scare. It was 1954. Okay. Pete. There's a big sign in the clubhouse, visitors clubhouse, home clubhouse, major leagues, minor leagues. Big sign right on the door. Rule 23, subsection D, any player, umpire, or a club, or league official, or employee who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the bettor has a duty to perform shall be declared permanently ineligible. For 24 years as a player and 5 years as a manager, Pete Rose walked by that sign every day and said, it doesn't apply to me because I'm Pete Rose. He denied it for 15 years, wrote a book, and admitted it. Pete Rose declared permanently ineligible by Commissioner A. Bartlett Giamatti on this date in 1989. Here's the press conference.
The banishment for life of Pete Rose from baseball is the sad end of a sorry episode. One of the game's greatest players has engaged in a variety of acts which have stained the game, and he must now live with the consequences of those acts. By choosing not to come to a hearing before me, and by choosing not to proffer any testimony or evidence contrary to the evidence and information contained in the report of the special counsel to the commissioner, Mr. Rose has accepted baseball's ultimate sanction, which is lifetime ineligibility. The matter of Mr. Rose is now closed. It will be debated and discussed. Let no one think that it did not hurt baseball. That hurt will pass, however, as the great glory of the game asserts itself and a resilient institution goes forward. Let it also be clear that no individual is superior to the game.
He's still banned from baseball. Pete Rose is 81 years old now. He lives in Las Vegas. He works at Caesars. He signs memorabilia, and he still bets on baseball. The commissioner, Rob Manfred, has told him, he said, you stop betting on baseball and I'll consider reinstating you, and Pete has declined that offer. 31 years ago, the summer of 1991, we talked about this, Mikhail Gorbachev was on vacation with his family. There was a coup. They threw him out. Then the coup fell apart. Boris Yeltsin stepped into the void, and Mikhail Gorbachev on this date resigns as president and chairman of the Central Committee of the Politburo, and he calls on the Politburo to be dissolved, and that communism is essentially dead. Several members of the coup that tried to oust Gorbachev committed suicide. Others were fired. Boris Yeltsin himself said, you know, Mikhail, you brought this onto yourself because the people who tried to throw you out of power, you hired them. Mikhail Gorbachev said, I'm out. August 24th, 1991. August 24th, 1992, 30 years ago today. 30 years ago today, Hurricane Andrew. Can you imagine the kind of devastation Hurricane Andrew would do today with all the more people that are living in South Florida? Hurricane Andrew makes landfall in Homestead, Florida, a Category 5. It remains to this day the most destructive hurricane that ever has hit the state of Florida in terms of structures destroyed and damaged. Not the deadliest hurricane. There were hurricanes that killed more people, but Hurricane Andrew, it did a number on South Florida. Happy 27th birthday to my favorite operating system, Windows 95, at the market on this date. They sold 1 million copies in 4 days, and in a matter of a couple of years, Windows 95 was in something like 75% of all the computers. It was the operating system until it was replaced by Windows 98, Windows 95, a real game changer. Came to the public on this day 27 years ago today. And 16 years ago today, the International Astronomical Union, the IAU, demoted Pluto. Sorry, Pluto, you're no longer a planet. You're no longer the farthest planet in our solar system. You're now a dwarf planet. Pluto gets demoted. 16 years ago today. That's Earth, the Moon, and Pluto in their approximate sizes. Pluto itself was not consulted. Birthdays. R2-D2, or the guy inside R2-D2, I should say, Kenny Baker. Born in the state in 1934. Kenny died in 2016 at the age of 82. He was R2-D2 in all of the Star Wars films, of course, and as you probably know by now, he and Anthony Daniels, who played C-3PO, had a long-running feud. They had great on-screen chemistry. Behind the scenes, they really couldn't stand one another. Kenny Baker, born in the state in 1934. Cal Ripken Jr., 62 years old today, 2,632 consecutive games, 2 times the American League MVP, most home runs ever by a shortstop, 345 home runs as playing shortstop, and of course in baseball's Hall of Fame. Happy 62nd to Cal. And Wang Zhen. Wang Zhen, the great race walker in the Olympics. He won the bronze medal at the 2012 London Olympics in race walking, and he won the gold medal in Beijing in 2016, the great Chinese race walker Wang Zhen. Going to take a break. Got an opinion from Mike Mad Dog Magnotti and my interview and conversation with Joel Norman to talk about Apple Sox baseball. But don't forget, it's Winning Wednesday. Free golf at the Highlander, free food at the Highlander. Get your email to me, winner@ncwlife.com. I'll give you one more reminder before the end of this program. Mike Magnotti is next. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
The Clearwater Saloon and Casino has the best Vegas-style games in East Wenatchee. Come enjoy yourself and discover the nightly action. Win big and meet new friends at the Clearwater Saloon and Casino.
Wenatchee, it's a WWE Sunday stunner you won't want to miss. Witness Drew McIntyre and the New Day take on the Usos and Sami Zayn in a 6-man tag team match. This is massive. Plus, Liv Morgan battles Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler in a triple threat match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. It's WWE Sunday Stunner, live in Wenatchee, Sunday, September 11th. Tickets and Superstar Experience packages available now.
This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, let's say somebody does something good, like help win World War II, but on the other hand, they display racist and white supremacist tendencies. Now, Does Winston Churchill come to mind? Or let's say someone else devotes their life to serving the poor of Calcutta, but they're also accused of not supplying adequate pain meds because of her belief that the poor need to suffer like Christ. Now, does Mother Teresa come to mind? Now, let's face it, we're all human, and even the best of us has our dark spots. Sometimes we need to recognize human weakness and realize that none of us totally measures up. But I don't care how great of a comedian or a father you are. If you drug and rape women, you've crossed the line. Does Bill Cosby come to mind? This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
Brian's Pizza and Bowling is changing their name to That Pizza Place. Now, there's still your same favorite locally owned family pizza and bowling center, That Pizza Place. Come hang out in downtown Cashmere.
The NCW Life Channel offers marketing packages that help you build your brand and sell your products and services. From traditional TV ads to targeted digital campaigns, let us help you build your customer base. Call NCW Life Channel today.
Welcome back to Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. We're here at Paul Thomas Senior Stadium on the campus of Wenatchee Valley College to put a bow on the 2022 Apple Sox season. All things considered, when you're in the Final Four, as they were, pardon the basketball terminology, you've had a good year. Joel Norman, the broadcasting voice of the Wenatchee Wild, the Wenatchee Apple Sox is joining me. Well, he does hockey in the wintertime, so
That's right.
I get confused sometimes, and I'm not very bright. Joel, it's good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, Dan.
Kind of a tale of two halves, really. They were, 12 and 15 in the first half, 15 and 12 in the second half, which was good enough to win the second half division title. They made Kamloops look like a couple of little leaguers. Then a tough one against Bellingham. But all in all, Mitch Darlington, I think, did a great job.
Oh, phenomenal job. First head coach in Apple Sox history to lead the team to the postseason in his first year. Ed Nags can't say that. Gary Lewallen. A lot of others couldn't say that. A lot of phenomenal coaches before. But I think that's just a testament to two things. One, the expanded playoff field helped out a lot, even though the Apple Sox did win the second half outright. But I think also the effort that Mitch had. Mitch had so much pride in this team, which was something I think was missing the year before, and from that head coaching standpoint. And it was such a pleasure to have someone you see every day at work who's just excited, realized, every day was a new opportunity, and was excited to build this product. He wasn't looking toward the fall semester for college. He was looking to see what he could do this summer. I was so proud to have him as the head coach of the team this season, and proud of the effort that our players put out as well.
One of the things I noticed in the games that we broadcast and the games that I came to, they seem to be having a good time. Yeah. And you can tell when these players are just kind of slogging their way through a summer as opposed to those who are out playing ball and having a good time doing it.
Oh, absolutely. I think no matter who the head coach is, June is always kind of the feeling out period. Guys who have never played with each other, guys who don't know each other for the most part, don't know the head coach, they're feeling things out a little bit. But when you really see whether a team comes together or not, it's right around the 4th of July. I think about that every year. Our fireworks night, I always think of as this is the midpoint of the season. What needs to be done from this point on that hasn't been done so far. And I felt like our team just really came together in July. And I also credited part of that to some of the late additions we made down the stretch of the season. As you know, Dan, it's just common in summer collegiate baseball. You're going to lose guys, especially East Coast players, a little bit earlier over the course of a season, and we added some really quality players down the stretch. And that was something I had to tell Mitch at one point. He was saying, it feels like we're a little short on guys. And I said, Mitch, I think this is the best our team has been set up into August in my 4 seasons that I've been here at least. And I don't think a lot of teams are saying that right now. I think that was exactly the case. We were 3 runs away from going to the championship game.
How does one, speaking of Mitch Darlington, fill those roster spots deep late in the season and into the playoffs? You know that player X, Y, and Z is going to have to go back to Arkansas, South Carolina, and wherever. That's coming down the pike. How do you cherry pick the low-hanging fruit and get these good ball players to come in and contribute for a couple of weeks at the end of the season. How does that work?
Mitch is a relentless recruiter. I think that starts with just a ton of phone calls, going on Twitter, Instagram, and following these players and saying, hey, you're someone who I've seen. And that's just doing your homework. Maybe these are guys in the off-season you looked at and you said, maybe I don't want to sign him to a full-season contract, but let's revisit that guy. And I credit that to Mitch. That's something that's probably 24/7. He's probably thinking about that when his head hits the pillow, I imagine, most days. But he did such a great job of just thinking of previous connections, establishing new relationships, and just knocking up on the door and being uncomfortable. I think, in the journalism industry, we talk about the man on the street instances where you have to go out, you kind of have to put yourself out there. It's the same way for a coach when you're recruiting. You have to put yourself out there and just try to introduce yourself. Say, hey, I'm the head coach of the Apple Sox. I want you to play for us because of this. And Mitch wasn't afraid of that. He's a great recruiter, and I think it showed with the type of players we brought in this year.
Does the fact that Mitch is only about 10 years older than the players on his roster help a little bit? The player doesn't have to deal with a 55-year-old head coach who's set in his ways, might be a bit crusty. Is that the fact that Mitch's youth and enthusiasm plays a role in that?
I think you can be a great head coach at any age. I think sometimes there might be aspects of being younger that are beneficial, but I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is your personality open. Are you not set in your ways? And Mitch is not set in his ways. He has goals and things he wants to be accomplished, and you cannot cross the line in certain things, as every coach is. But I think that's how the most successful coaches are in this league. Brooke Knight isn't in his 20s, but Brooke Knight has done a great job every year with Corvallis about being open, having a strategy for his roster, and letting players shine and be themselves. I think the best coaches at this level do that. They are also coaches and great recruiters at the same time.
We don't want to single out any particular players on this year's Apple Sox season that just came to an end, but we're now going to single out some individual players on this Apple Sox team whose season just came to an end. Joichiro Oyama, co-MVP of the league. Why he wasn't MVP by himself, I don't know. I don't vote. But you got to start with this guy.
Oh, my gosh.
Just phenomenal ball player.
What a great season for him. Broke 4 different Apple Sox records, plate appearances, runs, walks, stolen bases, tied for the most games played in a regular season for the Apple Sox, tied for the most triples hit in a single season. The list just goes on and on with him. He did things every night that felt like this was something I've never seen before. And I think fans got a great taste of that in the what ended up being final home game of the season, the playoff game against Kamloops, which was my favorite play of the season. Fly ball to deep right center, he tags up from second and scores. Who does that? Who does that kind of thing? It was so incredible to see a guy who was so intelligent, but also had such a great love of the sport. And I know our fans fall in love with those types of players. You love to see a guy who can hit a ball over the fence. You love a guy who can hit close to 400. But it's more fun when the guy does those things with his brain, and he does it with his abilities and just thinking ahead of everyone else on the field.
And he flusters the opposing team. He gets on first base. He takes a big lead. The pitcher's got to worry about it. The pitcher's got to worry about it. Pitcher can't throw strikes. Yeah. Then he steals. Then he walks. And then there's a base hit and 2 runs scored. And it's like he just made it happen.
Yeah, I believe you talked about it with him a few months ago, or back in July. Joichiro didn't initially have a green light to start the season, or at least he didn't know he had a green light. About a week and a half or so in, I think it was right when we were in the middle of that really bad stretch where we lost 6 straight to Bellingham. Right in the middle of that stretch, Mitch Darlington told him, Joe, you've got a green light to go whenever you want. Don't wait for me. If you see a ball that you think you can take off on, go. And I think that was a turning point in the season. Those 6 games didn't go the way we wanted, but from that point on, the Apple Sox became a much better team on the base paths. And this is just my experience, and I think the statistics back it up too. The teams who play small ball the best and the teams who pitch best usually win this league. The Corvallis Knights have won 6 years in a row. They bunt, they steal bases, and they have the best ERA in the league this year. It comes down to those 3 simple things. Easier said than done, but I think the Apple Sox took a gigantic step forward in that regard. They were just an unstoppable team on the base paths.
What's next for Coach Darlington and Jose and Allie and the whole crew? The season's over. Again, all things considered, a very good year. What is the plan moving forward as far as Mitch bringing in, retaining some players, bringing in some new players? Talk about that off-season process for the Apple Sox. How does that work?
It's a process. It takes time, and the great thing is we've got 9 months to sort that out too. Mitch has already kind of begun chatting with some coaches, whether that's just texting ones he already knew, trying to make connections with guys he didn't know already. But for right now, a lot of what he's been doing has been checking in with the coaches of players who were here this past season. Joichiro Oyama, for example, he's transferring to UC Irvine. Mitch has already begun speaking with their head coach to see, how was Joe's experience? What did he tell you? Could we maybe get some other guys for this season? Stuff like that. And that's what it's all about, is you build that one player, you make sure he has an unforgettable summer, both on the field, off it with, enjoying his time with his host parents, with everyone in the dugout, and you sell that experience to the college. That guy goes back and says, Wenatchee is a great place to play baseball. And right now I think Mitch is trying to make sure everyone's feeling that way so you can bring in more talent or even bring some of those guys back potentially.
The best recruiters, and we've talked about this before, the best recruiters are the players themselves. Yeah. How was your summer? Went up to Wenatchee, Washington, played baseball for the Applesauces. I had a blast. It was so great. And they're serious.
Oh, absolutely.
They come back and say, I had a great summer. And that gets into the grapevine, gets into the clubhouse, gets into the dugout, and before you know it, Mitch doesn't have to work so hard to recruit the players.
I think that's a huge part of it. I think Grant Sherritt is a great example of a guy who was like that. I think he came in, he was trying to figure some things out with his career. He'd kind of played partially this past spring at South Carolina Upstate, and he kind of knew coming into the summer, I've got some work I need to get done. And he had a frustrating start, but gosh, he was nearly a 500 hitter over his final month or so at the plate. He had a 10-game hitting streak at one point, and I remember the summer came to an end. He got that really nice moment where he got pulled from a game in the ninth, so the crowd gave him an ovation, which was just a really classy move on Mitch's part. But then I remember talking to him after, he said, I don't want to leave. I hate that I have to go back to school right now, and that's what you want. You want to have guys who go, I hate that I've got to go, but I'm so glad that I came here. That's what it's all about. That's where I feel like we know that we're doing the right job as well. And I found far more often than not, this summer's roster felt that way.
I'm not going to see you for a while. You're going to head back east. You're going to be calling some hockey in the Midwest. So, Joel, while I have you here, as you can tell by his shirt, he's a Pirate, Pittsburgh. And you can tell by my shirt, I'm a Yankee, New York. Another banner year for your Pirates. They're just tearing up.
Well, not working so well, unfortunately. But
my Yankees have been struggling too. Real quickly, let's talk about baseball before I cut you loose. Mariners are probably going to make the playoffs. We don't know yet. I'm thinking, I hate to say it, I think the World Series is probably going to rematch of last year's. I think it's going to be the Braves and the Astros again. Hate to say it. It's what I think is going to happen. Your thoughts?
It's hard to repeat for the Braves to get back there. They've also got some more pitchers this year than they had even last year. You've got a healthy Ronald Acuna Jr., which is certainly dangerous. For the Astros, it helped getting Justin Verlander back for sure. He should win the Cy Young this year, I would argue. But I wouldn't count the Yankees out yet. It all depends, I think, if they have home field advantage against Houston. It's hard to win at Yankee Stadium. But if Houston's playing at home, I imagine those teams are going to match up. I think the Dodgers are going to come out of the National League this year. It's hard to pick against them. I think it'll be them and the Braves, hopefully, again, in the NLCS, because the last couple of years have been fantastic when those teams have matched up. I'm going to go with the Dodgers-Astros World Series.
Well, that'll make Grant happy.
Yeah. Rematch of 2017 as well. I think the Dodgers will win this time, though.
It's kind of funny you bring that up because they have expanded playoffs in Major League Baseball this year. More teams making the playoffs, just like the West Coast League did. But this is an important fact. I want to leave you with this. Even without the expanded playoff format in the WCL this year, the Apple Sox still would have made the playoffs.
That's right.
They weren't babied in.
No.
Like, we need 4 teams, so you get to play.
No.
They earned their way in.
They did. And you look back even a couple of years ago, 2019, when the Apple Sox made the postseason, they didn't outright win the second half. That year they did because they had the next best overall record, because Victoria, who won the first half, won the second half. I know it's so confusing to explain out loud, but this year the Apple Sox outright won the second half. And that's a credit to how Mitch Darlington was able to just turn the team around during this stretch and really get them playing the type of baseball I think we all knew they were capable of.
Well, all good things must come to an end. We're staring Labor Day right in the face. Joel, have safe travels back east.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to the 2023 Apple Sox season. You know where to find me if you want to talk baseball.
That's right.
I'm right here because I work with a bunch of people who, quite frankly, don't talk baseball.
That's unfortunate, because everyone should talk baseball.
Yeah, I have to dip into your well to get my Jones. Joel Norman, the longtime voice of the Wenatchee Apple Sox. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, and we'll be right back.
Hey folks, Carrie from Blueberry Hills in Manson, where we've got huge news. We've started our Blueberry U-Pick. It's a great time to toss the family in the car and get on out to Blueberry Hills, where you can get the best down-home scratch country cooking around and pick some of the world's most delicious and largest blueberries that have been high desert farmed. This makes for an intense blueberry flavor, and they are so much fun to pick. Our fields are open 8 to 2:30 daily and restaurant from 8 to 3, so come on out and join us.
Did you know that nearly 50% of pet poisoning cases involve human medications and prescription drugs? Sometimes the culprit's a curious dog, but cats get into their share of trouble as well. Other times, pet owners mistakenly give their pets their own medications that are safe to people but toxic to their pets. Dr. Shauna Baez and her staff care about your pets. Go to pawsandclawsvh.com for a complete list of medications to avoid, or call 888-PAWS.
Hi, I'm Chuck Dronan, managing member at Eplodolin Retirement and Assisted Living. It's been a tough year for all of us, but especially for those working and living in senior care facilities. Over the course of these many difficult months, our staff at Eplodolin has been vigilant in adhering to federal and state guidelines to protect and assure the safety of our residents and their caregivers. If you're in need of assisted living for a loved one, give us a call at Eplodolin. We're here for you.
Come on out to Chelan County Fair. All your friends and neighbors will be there. There'll be cows, there'll be chickens, guitar picking, there'll be plenty of food to be shared. Come on out to Chelan County Fair. Come on out, yo, come on out to Chelan County Fair.
Winning Wednesdays. One of the best part of this job is giving stuff away, and we're doing it again today from our friends at the Highlander. Golf for two people. Golf for two people. Absolutely free. You can take you and a friend or your significant other or whoever and play golf on us, and on top of that, $25 gift card to the Highlander Grill. This is a $195 value. A round for two with the Highlander, $25 worth of free food at the grill. Golf's a great sport. It's a great sport. You hit the ball, you get in the cart, you drink the beer, you drive the cart, you drink the beer, you get out of the cart, you hit the ball, you drink the beer, you get back in the cart, you drive the cart, and you do that for like 5.5 hours. It's wonderful. It's a great time to kill a day. Email me, winner@ncwlife.com, winner@ncwlife.com. That is how you enter the contest. Don't forget the rules. Employees of local telecommunications solely on broadcasting and their immediate families are not eligible. Rule number one. Rule number two, it's one entry per email address. If you have more than one email address, and a lot of people do, you can enter more than once, but you can't enter continuously on the same email address. We keep track of these things. And if you don't enter the contest, you cannot win the contest. Again, golf for two people at the Highlander. And this gift certificate, by the way, doesn't expire until November of next year. You got lots of time to use it. And little action there at the Highlander Grill. Send me your email if you want to golf and eat on us at the Highlander. We'll do the drawing a little bit later on today, all right? Deadline's about noon or so. Thunderstorm chances. It's out there. Now, if you live over in the Lilac City, or you're planning on going to the far eastern side of our state and maybe into the Idaho Panhandle, you have a better chance of a pop-up thunderstorm. The system is very high in the atmosphere. It's way up there, so they're very hard to predict. Thunderstorms have their own personality, if you will. But if a thunderstorm does, in fact, break out, it could be pretty bad. You know, you get the hail and the strong winds and the big-time rain. So the entire region that you see there could get a thunderstorm. But again, the strongest storms expected over the extreme section of our state and into northern Idaho. So I think we're going to be okay. Here in the Wenatchee Valley, we've got about a 20% chance of a shower or a thunderstorm during the hottest part of the day. That's between about 2 o'clock in the afternoon till about 7 o'clock. Now, you got to remember that the days are getting much shorter now. Sunrise this morning was at 6:09, sunset 7:56. So we're losing about 2.5 minutes of daylight a day, which helps because it's less radiant heat in the afternoon, but still, that chance is out there. We just wanted to mention it. From the National Weather Service, here we go. Again, chance of a thunderstorm late in the afternoon, early evening, anytime between 2 to about 7:30 or so is our best chance. I don't think it's going to happen, but we still got to throw it up there. That way, if it does happen, I don't look like an idiot, and any more than I already do, I suppose. 93, our high today. We hit 92 yesterday. 68 for the overnight low tonight. 93 again on Thursday. Chance of thunderstorms all but gone. A big ridge of high pressure is sitting right off the coast of British Columbia, and it's going to move right in. It's going to swallow up that low pressure, and it's going to keep us sunny and warm and high and dry with a little bit of a cool down just in time for the weekend. So if you have outdoor weekend plans, you can go out on Saturday and Sunday afternoon and not worry about getting exposed to too much heat, because it's going to be quite comfortable with our normal high right around 85. So it looks pretty good for the weekend, and then we warm right back up again as we start looking at September. And that's it for us. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.